All right, we live.
Okay, good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Good night, fathers. Good night. Welcome to Fatherhood Think Tank, your weekly dose of fathers and conversations that helps not just you but us and the whole society understand what goes on with fathers and how fathers may be thinking, what fathers are thinking, and the better understanding of the family. I'm Ron Osborne Williams, the cultivator of the Fatherhood Think Tank, and I'd like to let the fathers introduce themselves as we begin to start for tonight. And then I'll let them introduce themselves. We got fathers from multiple, well, no, maybe not all multiple. We got most of these guys in South Florida, but we got some people who are in the code as well. Let them introduce themselves, how many fathers, how many kids they have, and a little bit about themselves, and then we'll come back with our topic for the night. Again, welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, 1 granddaughter, and 1 grandson on the way. So it's always a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Good evening. My name is Vaughn Howard. I'm a father of 2, 1 15-year-old, 1 13-year-old son, a 15-year-old daughter. No more children on the way, but always good to start to speak to the fathers that are on this platform.
Good evening, everyone. Larry Jordan, father 2, grandfather 1, and I can't chew, walk at the same time, so multitask, but I'm listening to you, gentlemen.
I'm Freddie Gallon, father 3, 1 adult, 2 kids, and 1 grandchild.
All right, and last but not least, my name is Franco Coleman. I'm the father of 3, grandfather of 2, husband of 1 wife.
and listen, I'm glad Franco said that, because sometimes people get the delusion maybe of when I say, hey, like, share, subscribe to this show. Sometimes people get the idea that there's a whole bunch of just single fathers or disgruntled fathers, and I have to share with people all the time, no, we're just fathers. We're not any kind of, we have fathers who've been married 50 something years. We have fathers who just fathers never been married. We have fathers who are happily married. We have fathers who are surviving the co-parenting that they're doing with their partner, co-parent of their child. So it's a variety of the type of fathers we have, and it's interesting because tonight's topic is one that that is a really good one for us to really think about. Tonight's topic is being the man of the house versus being a man in the house. And I want to say that again, because that's going to take us to some places that really talks about us as fathers and where we sit and how we sit within there. The topic of tonight is being the man of a house versus being the man in a house. And so I'll throw that right out there immediately. And I think that's almost a fastball. So I know some of the first father that's going to jump on this is the married fathers who live with their wives and live with their children, because I think that so often we're looking at the spectrum of fathers that we have. Some fathers don't live with their kids, so that idea is almost it doesn't make sense to them. But we do have divorced fathers who have divorced and was divorced, and then we have those fathers who are still married, struggling to keep their families together in the best way they can as a father would. So I'm gonna throw that out there, and I know some fast pitch catchers out there who can really start to take their shot at that question, being a father in the house, of the house, or being a father in the house.
let me go ahead and jump on this immediately. Wow, that's a real good topic, my good brother. Because to be the father of the house, one, of course, you have to have leadership. Of course, you know what I'm saying. You have to not necessarily be demanding of things, but you have to show that that before anything can go on, it must come by you as the man of the house. You're the disciplinarian. In some instances, you're the comforter. In some instances, you're the provider. In some instances, you're the supporter. In some instances, you're the disciplinarian. You know, and then you also have to have that mindset of, you know, specifically for your children and for your wife or for your significant other. You have to have that understanding of patience and love and guidance, but also be very stern in your approach to everything. So that's how I see it, as being the man of the house. The man in the house, I have not necessarily had that experience, but what I would definitely say is from a father's perspective is that there has to be some form, I'm going to take some tenets that I've learned from my uncles and my grandfathers, and of course my fraternity. I believe in Christian manhood, so I always have that foundation of Christian manhood in my house, and just be an example that my children and my family can be that role model for, so they can go out into the world and exemplify that. So that's me.
Okay, Vaughn, you jump right in there. Don't everybody don't get to be shy, because I'm leaving this to our fathers, divorced fathers and married fathers, to talk about this. I'm just here not because I don't know what it means in the instance of being the father in the house or of the house. At many points, the only aspect I can say as a father who hasn't been married, who doesn't have a wife, is that I know what it means to be the father in my house. And that is almost kind of like you have to be mindful. You almost got to be like, hey, make sure you don't become a dictator. And let me say this, I have to backtrack a little bit, because it's not as simple as we might think it to be, to say I'm the father of my house all by myself, that doesn't affect my child, because what goes on at the other house, right, has a major effect on what goes on with me and my child, as well as the other mother. So it's easy to sometimes be ready to try to cop out of here and be like, oh, that's not my topic, don't got nothing to do with me. But as you begin to start thinking, and this is why we got this whole think tank, because it's not as we'll think that something don't affect us. It don't got nothing to do with us. That's their problem. But as a father, all these things usually affects us, and it's a problem for us that we have to manage. I see Frank. I don't know who trying to chomp at the bit first. Is it Lightborn or Franco? Y'all both got the faces on like my Philadelphia Eagles was looking yesterday.
I'll go ahead and take a stab at it. Being a man of the house versus being a man in the house. You know what? I guess if I had to really simplify it, I think I'll give a analogy like black people in politics, right? And so being the man of the house is the equivalent of black people in politics, where people confuse political leaders of working for us versus working with us, right? And so the same analogy applies to manhood and fatherhood, where it's a difference between working for that family and working with that family. What's the difference is that family becomes a better company when you're working with it than for it. which means everybody starts to maximize or better utilize their purpose so they can maximize their purpose within that particular family. And so that's the misnomer that just like in black politics, we just assume that everybody want our vote because everybody's can do something for us. When in all actuality, we're not asking anybody to do anything for us. As a matter of fact, it's just a stereotype that we need somebody to do for us, but we're really hiring people to work with us. And so the same thing applies to fatherhood and manhood. The fact that you want your family to work with you. This is why the fact that you invest in raising them. You understand? And why we call co-parenting, it's like co-partnerships. You know, everybody have value and is a stakeholder within that particular family. And so if you want to get worth out of manhood, womanhood, childhood, and just what the family is and neighborhoods and country or whatever the case may be, we have to understand the value of working with each other rather than working for each other.
Mm. And that's a really good point. The idea of working with each other, and again, let me say this to fathers, and because one of the factors and the issues I deal with a lot of fathers who are in the house, who live in the house. I mean, I'm actually watching a movie today. Is a lot of us become fathers so early in the game, right? That we don't know how to be a partner to the person we had children with. And so like I was watching this presentation of the couple who had broke up, and the family invited her to Christmas, and because the family loved her, and then the father, who was he wasn't a father, but a man, the boyfriend was so busy working and so busy doing all the things. He was trying to work and trying to build a family for them that he was neglecting the time he really needed with the woman who knew all the things that was going on with his family. She knew how his sister's issue, his brother helping him do stuff in cop. So you imagine that she was doing everything. So she was doing that, and they didn't even have any children yet. So imagine, and she broke it off with him. So you start thinking about this. We sometimes as men will be so busy in trying to provide that we forget to provide. You know, we have been told provide, but we end up not providing. So now I'm going to add on to that. Let's add on a child who's in the house who needs your providing too. So you ain't providing to your partner, and then you also did not provide. But in our mind, guess what? I get out here and hit these streets every day. I'm making these figures. I'm bringing it home. I got the bacon, cook it up. But we're missing maybe a component of this, that they would like to eat bacon with you, not just cook it. You know, and we can eat our bacon together. We can all sit down and do those things together. We need you, Daddy. We need you, Father, with us, not just taking care of us. And I think that's a big part. Sometimes I see in a lot of times when I'm dealing with couples, and they're coming to that end of the road, that boys to men end of the road, because as men and as fathers, sometimes we haven't recognized, or we haven't. And let me say that there's not a problem with fathers who have made the decision to say, "Hey, I'm out here getting it and I'm providing." There's nothing wrong with that. But if your partner haven't made this, like I call it, a MOU. A memorandum of understanding that you're going to be out here grinding and I'm going to be good, that you're not giving me no time. You're not giving the kids no time. You're just out here grinding, you know, because I know men in prison who give more time to their kids and their woman out than men who walk freely in the street every day. I'm just calling, I'm just calling it like I see it. The family get a letter every day. It's a letter every day. They get a call every day. He know what his kid made on his English test the day before, and asked him what was the result of next week's study exam. Meanwhile, he can't provide a dollar. He can't provide a red cent. But I promise you, when he come out, his wife or his girl still got something for him, and the kids love him to death. Because daddy was just on a little vacation. Away out of town on a vacation. He'll be home soon, hopefully.
Nice, Ron. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you loud and clear, brother.
Okay. I'm new. This is my first time showing face and actually speaking on the platform. First, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity because it's much needed. And being a man in the home and a man of the home and all those different men, listen, there are so many there's so many different aspects of leading a home. I've been that guy from when my children were young. I was there for every move, right? As they progressed, uh, life happens. And then you have something like a COVID hit, you know what I'm saying? And then inflation hit, right? What you gonna do? You know? Right now, my family's in South Florida. I'm in Milton, Vermont. I'm that guy that's physically absent from the house. But I use the technology, like you said, buddy, write letters. I'm just like I'm on here with you. I'm waking my kids up in the morning. I wake them up at night. Answer that phone when daddy called. They don't answer. I called another sibling or the mother. Get them on the line. Whatever it is, if it's something urgent, pressing, something on my heart, I need to share with them. Sending out affirmations daily to the entire family just to let them know that I'm thinking about them and to keep a start the day off with a positive mindset. Just do what I can do, but I absolutely have to be out here in order for me to be able to support them at home. Um, and again, a little background about myself. My parents were divorced when I was younger. My dad got remarried. So through my teen years, my kids right now, the ones that are still in high school, I got one is my oldest is 31. The next one is 16. The next one is 15. And that teenage years trying to be a parent is rough for me because I had access to my father, but he had another family. So he wasn't necessarily in the house with me, but if mama needed him to show up, she could call him and he could show up. But there's a big difference there between him being in the house and then being able to, and watching every step versus just showing up when mama need a little extra reinforcement. So I had a little trouble with the oldest, and right now my kids are in that gray area. I remember back when I was 15, 16, and really just learning it on my own. You know what I'm saying? We had to figure things out as 15. We were resilient. I think that's what everybody describes those kids that was born in the late 70s, mid 70s. Grew up in the 80s and the 90s. They called it resiliency. We just had to figure things out. And right now, part of me figuring out fatherhood is joining things like this, the Fatherhood Think Tank, where we can discuss and really get a perspective from people who are doing it different from us because we don't have all the answers. Sometimes as fathers who think we run the house, we think we have all the answers, and then we run the whole family into a damn brick wall, right? True story. It can't happen. You can act like you got your shit together, but you don't. You know. But in reality, what happens is after you done bumped your head so much, and I have, um, you learn to open up a little bit more. You learn to seek wise counsel and accept the fact that people been raising children for a very long time, and it's just wise to take heed to the words of people of old. Books have been written about, marriage and raising children and the different phases of relationships and the different phases of raising children, raising a 0 to 10-year-old versus raising a 11 to 18-year-old versus what the relationship is like when a kid is in their 20s. It's all different and it's going to constantly be changing. So there have been times where I'm the man in the house where I just go and sit in my corner and, I'm not going to say all hell breaking loose, but you have to just allow the house to be the house. Now, when it's time for me and I know I have to step in, then you have to step in. But other than that, you don't want to stifle the growth of anyone in your home. And sometimes you have to sit back and let your wife bump her head. You got to sometimes sit back and let your children bump their head. And I've figured out that, I learn most through my mistakes. So I ain't gonna let them jump off no cliff or nothing like that. But sometimes you have to sit back and just allow folk growth to happen. And then once you get there, now we can have that aha moment and sit down, and we can laugh about it. You know what I mean? We can take it lightly. It's not so heavy on us, But I'm absolutely that guy. That's the man in my home, the man of my. I'm both of those guys that you mentioned at the beginning here, depending on the situation.
I'm glad you said that, Franco, because I think I'm 50% guilty of potentially stifling my kids' growth because of my personality. Um, I can be very confrontational. Uh, it's a good thing for the purpose I was created for. You understand? But it wasn't so much a good thing for the family I was blessed with, if that make any sense. And so trying to apply your personality to your purpose versus your personal life, it's always it's a juggling act. Um, but with that, I believe that I probably could have had, and the reason I say that because the evidence of that, I probably could have had a more open relationship with my children. And my children they're like your kids' age. They 32, 30, one just turned 31 last week. And then but they all 20 and above. And they still have that reverential fear, not that intimidation fear, but that reverential fear where, me being the way I am, I can't even say the way I was, make me kind of regret being that. It's number one. Number two, I think the transition of them being children to adults is where I may have the problem, right? So I didn't do that transition well from them being children, being, my minor children to them becoming my minor, well, not my minor, but my young adults. So my minor children transition to my young adult children is where I still had struggled with the transition. But I think God said something to me, I think as early as this week. He said, you know what? He said, try to enjoy them. He said, no, he said, enjoy them, don't judge them. That's what he said exactly, right to be to the point. He said, try and enjoy them and stop judging. And once he said that, that was the clarity I need, because I'm like, wow, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, something in the atmosphere as well with that. I don't mean to cut you off,
that's okay.
but the spirit told me, make memories, don't make expectations.
Absolutely. So there you go. What he said, when two or three when two or three are gathered, I'll be in the midst. So there you go. That's the confirmation. So that's and again, right. Nobody, I mean, being a human being, you're always evolving. So everything comes with being a human being, being a man, being a father, being a husband, whatever the case may be. You're gonna always be evolving because that's growth. And that's the sign of growth. And so I think being on here and being able to be vulnerable and transparent and allow my embarrassment to be somebody else's empowerment, it's good enough for me. So thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, it's as I listen to you guys talk, I was thinking that one of the big factors that comes into play and becomes so dynamic is that both of you guys are talking in an aspect of becoming fathers who become fathers of maybe even kids that are grown who are, and that becomes our wake-up call. And I think that's a wake-up call for you as a man, because prior to, listen, sometimes people say, what makes you a good father, good mother, whatever. You find that out when your children become grown. Because they're not under, as I like, you don't have dominion over them anymore. They still gonna respect you as mom and dad if y'all got that, if they got the equal respect. But do they think you a great person? They say, hell no, I think my dad's a fucking jerk off. And I think my mom's an idiot, because they now are adults who have dealt with people in the world. You're not just, you may not no longer be the sanctioned superhero because they seen somebody else who as their brain is fully developed, you know, the frontal lobe, and they're able to analyze and sympathize and you know, make the analyzation of who and what you are. That might not be the case. So that also comes a time for us to begin to question our fatherhoodness, what it is, and shit, it may even start to question our manhood, what kind of man we are, what kind of person we really are, because there's nothing like somebody that we held in our hands like this coming back and telling us, I don't respect you as a man because I held you in my hands. You gotta, no, I don't respect you because you haven't been able to show me those things in the actions that now, since I have a full understanding of the world. And I see a lot of times this program, a lot of times really is very appealing to dads who have kids, or even dads who are even a little bit older, like my dad, who is getting to a point where they want to start thinking about their legacy and what have they done, you know, and that this son of mine or this daughter, they may have to take care of me. So the mortality come into play. Like, is these jokers gonna take care of me? Do they like me enough? Are they gonna put me in a box somewhere? What's gonna happen based on what I have done? So I think it's always so important, especially for younger fathers who are watching this and young couples, to really start to really look at that. You know, you have the power as the parent over your child now. And the stuff you do really dictates what they do later and how they do things later, you know, and how they begin to perceive you. You know, it's nothing like a kid waking up one morning realizing, yo, my parents are jerks. They're the worst. And I thought they was great. Or the as I like to call it, the family secrets come out that we never know. And sometimes you haven't prepared your kids, and we haven't prepared our kids for those things. And it becomes a regretful thing later. So I'm saying, as a father now, I begin to say, hey, I'm laying on the table. This is what it is. This is what happened with me and your mom. This is how me and you are. And this is what it is. I'm not going to try to sell you anything else. All I can sell you is that I love you. And I love you just like your mom do, unconditionally. I can't love her the way that she says she love you, because me and your mom, your mom's a woman and I'm a man. We got different ways of how we express our love, show our love, but I love you. And if in the real sense of it, even if people say they wouldn't do it, I'd do anything for you. I'd take a bullet for you. I give my life for you. Because you're a fool if you're not. Let me just say, you're a fool if you're not willing to let your child live before you live. Because you ending yourself. You ending your existence with not letting your child and your legacy continue, and you won't think you're going to continue. Because 2 days later, you get hit by the goddamn bus because you was too slow to run across the street. So putting that in out there in the world. But as I listened to you guys both talk, I just thought how profound it is that we have these fathers who have grown kids. And I know if Gene was on here, he could talk a little bit about his kids are starting to go into being adults. Like when Vaughn is speaking to this, he's the father of the house. He's everything in the house. Yeah, because he the only other adult around there is his wife. And you got to negotiate with your partner. When you just got the kids, you tell them, we're going to do this. Oh, damn, I think we should come to the table. No, you ain't coming to no damn table. It's my goddamn table. Y'all gonna listen. Don't eat my big. Like a dude said, look, I put a piece of chicken in the refrigerator. Nobody eat my piece of chicken. I don't care. I don't care if it's green. Don't eat my piece. Don't touch my piece of chicken. And that's the kind of dominion that initially we have, and that's the idea we kind of think of what it means to be this kind of father. When sometimes it might be, let's come to the table and kind of. We're not talking about let the prisoners run the prison, but the warden got to listen to what the conditions is in the prison for the prison to run smoothly.
I mean, that's a terrible example of giving the prison the pipeline upon the Black community, but okay.
Hey, but Ron,
Ron, I want to go back to something that you said just a moment ago. I think one of the things as it relates to being the dad or the father of the house or the man of the house, so to speak, specifically for us as those that have significant others in the home, is that one thing that we have to realize that as parents, we need to have a form of negotiation to make sure that the house runs effectively and sufficiently. I think a lot of times, especially young fathers, I'm the man of the house and anything that whatever goes, it goes. A lot of times for me, and it can come down to simple as dinner. Like, listen, y'all just tell me what y'all want, and I don't feel like, going through the rigmarole of that. And there's a negotiation period, specifically when it comes down between mom and dad in the house itself. Now, that may be the only time that you give your child some leeway if they decide, we may have a special night out and, listen, y'all can decide what y'all want to eat. But outside of that, what runs, what goes on, and what's said is what's done. But I think just going back specifically for the father of the house, I'm sorry, to be the dad or the father of the house, specifically with a significant other, that we need to have some form of negotiation and come to some type of consensus to move forward and make sure that the household runs effectively.
I'm glad you said that, because when you just gave an example of the reason I said families are your company. Matter of fact, the family is the first company you got or you was even a part of. And if you know anything about the principles or the 5 principles of companies, delegating authority is like in the top 5, right? Might be like number 3, maybe number 4, but delegating authority. What you just explained is delegating authority when you said you give the kids the option of what they want to eat, even maybe where they want to eat. You understand, which increase the value of the stock in your children. I think the dogmatic approach of I do as I say and not as I do, and it's my way or the highway or whatever the case may be, it made our leadership, and particularly in our culture, poor negotiators, if not weak ones. And the reason I say that is because that effect, we imagine building a leader on that particular model of do as I say, not as I do, or my way or the highway. You send them to school, they do everything right. And now they're leading the community with the wrong mentality. Because if they're not in the highest position of leadership of where we sent them to lead, then they become poor negotiators of where they're from. And this is why we probably, as a culture, our ancestors probably own more homes than we do, because we have poor leadership. They did right for themselves individually because they only knew how to do what people told them to do, which is why we get sold short within the leadership that we chose. Back to that political thing. But I think, and again, this is where I have to give myself blame for, because I'm like, as much as I wanted to get away from that old, not all of it, but that old model and that old upbringing, you understand, which means I could say I wanted to take the integrity from it. I wanted to raise my kids with the integrity of the old model, but not so much the intelligence. And so I think every so often in me raising my kids, that old intelligence creeped in and they got 50% of what I wanted to give them as opposed to 100%. Because even the traumatic my way or the highway, be it conscious or unconscious, still affected me personally, and then it carried over in the way I raised my children. So that's why I gave the 50% on what I intended to do versus what I may have unintentionally did in raising my children. So I'm glad you made that point, Vaughn, and it just got me back to that family versus company, because again, your family is your company. I mean, the first thing they give your kid is a social security card when he born. You understand? And we understand that's going to be attached to his finances for the rest of his life. And so how we manage and teach them to manage is how they would manage for the rest of their life. But again, that was my intention, but unintentionally, I may have gave some old stuff that I didn't really had shaken time enough or outgrowing time enough. And I just had to outgrow it with them as opposed to outgrowing it before I actually had.
You
Proof that we are not that far from slave mentality. Like we're trying to especially our age. I don't know about the age group here, but I'm 46. And um, we've sing all the songs, we've come so far and all this and that and that and the other. But when I look at the model, um, if you haven't done the research, you're going to absolutely do those things, just like your parents did. It's so evident when you look on social media, people our age group, when it be some of the most idiotic stuff. It's funny, right? They'll make it seem like it's funny, but that's exactly how they raising their kids. Don't ask for nothing. You ain't getting nothing. Da, 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 you know, and I don't know. I don't know if that's helping or if that's hurting. And then, the only way you can do is like you said, Mr. Lightborn, you go through it, and then on the back end of that, there's a learning that takes place, but it would be nice to have the foresight to say, look, dog, this is gonna happen if I say this or if I do it this way. I made one big mistake with my oldest one time, and I had my mom was big on, no locking the doors in the house. You know what I mean? So yeah, I freaked out. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't doing nothing crazy in his room. He was just playing with his damn toys and he locked the door. My stupid ass, I done kicked the door off the frame and scared the boy half to death. And he done seen a monster come out that he never thought existed, right? So, that whole WWF, WWE Wednesday night, I'm gonna come off the top rope on you, you know, that type of mentality, it just doesn't work. That's where I've come to realize it just doesn't work. And we try to, like you said, we try to break away from it, but break away from it and go to the unknown is kind of why we here having this discussion right now. We're going into
So,
something we haven't seen before.
so I have a question for you gentlemen, specifically how television has evolved or devolved over the course of time. Why is it that the essence of the black male father, the black male, specifically the black father, not showcased in the homes, even on our quote unquote black entertainment televisions and things of that nature, entities that we think that we have some ownership in? Why isn't that allowed, or why isn't that showcased anymore? What has, because we know we're out here. We know that we're in this community. We know that we're in this world, be it whatever continent you live in or whatever area that you live in. But why isn't that it's not showcased as much as it was in years past?
Hey,
That helped develop us even in our growing up over the course of years of how to help streamline and help us be fathers.
Vaughn, it's an interesting thing you said that, because the day I was talking to my friend, and she was watching this very nice movie, and it was a all white characters, right? And it was a movie about a guy who his girlfriend was I think I already talked about it. Girlfriend came for Christmas, whole night. And I asked her, I said, hey, you watching that movie? It was really good, right? You feel good about it, right? I said, why couldn't that movie just be all black people? And nothing had to change. Just the same theme line of what happened, right? If that could just be a black people. And she kind of said to me, oh, well, you brought the negative into it. They say it was and that's to say exactly the point I'm making. We live in a society that we sometimes let people bring the negative. Because I said the movie with all black people would have been just like if it was all Asian people, if it was all Hispanic people, the movie wouldn't have changed, the script wouldn't have changed. But sometimes you'll see that people want it to be something else for a simple script about a boyfriend or a girlfriend that broke up. and the family still loves the girlfriend. You want her to be, oh, she cheated, he cheated on her. No, that didn't happen. Why you made that happen? Oh, well, she was out. He ain't make enough money. You put all of these things that in a nice movie that they don't have to be for us. And I think that's one of our issues, because I think the guys were saying this early, Vaughn. We have to take the leadership role, and it's venues like this, platforms like this, where we start saying our kids do what we teach them. We're the managers. We're the managers. And what people begin to learn is we have a lot of companies with no managers. So they can be influenced by anybody. So we have to be very mindful of almost doing what you're saying, Vaughn. We need to highlight, and that's a big thing for me. I see the media show us the most negative things about us at all times, right? They'll show us all the bad stuff. And the first thing I say, I can show you 7 things that's positive that they could have showed instead of that. But that's not the image they want to display. Listen, you'll show, listen, right here on this platform, right here, ready? I'm gonna show you exactly the example when I'm saying. You a father, Franco a father, Lightborn a father, Larry a father, Jay is a father, even though his situation with some of his children's mothers, one of his children's mother ain't work out, but he's still a father of the kids. They live in the house with his present woman. So you begin to say that out of the 8 men on here, and I'm not sure who Lamont is at this moment. I'm not sure, and I know Fred is he a bachelor. He a bachelor like me. But then you have here on this platform, we have 8 people. At least 5 of them are fathers with kids and significant others who have healthy relationships. As far as we know, right? Allegedly. I don't want to but they have healthy relationships, and clearly you would have to have them, because you can't come on here. You no way you're gonna put your face on the media talking about I'm so good with my wife and everything great, because definitely I'll be seeing in the credits in the comments. I don't know how he's talking about this, because that's how we do each other. We listen, and anything good we got going, person gonna find the bad to bring it out. So I think that's just a nature, but I think we have to stay focused on the solutions and the positivity when it comes to talking about our father. We know all the bad stuff. Okay, it's good. Everybody got bad stuff, but we somehow begin to take on a culture that our bad stuff. And I think Franco had a very good point. The kind of slave mentality, but it's not our slave mentality. It's the mentality of slave owners and people who approve the slavery to say that, Jay, you guys are bad. You are not good people. You got bad things about you. And in doing that, then we buy into it, and then it becomes a norm, when really even the slaves were positive. Even if a man had to go and impregnate other women, he still had love for the woman that was his woman, and he still cared about all those kids that master made him have with all these people. We don't talk about that story. We don't talk about that. We don't share that. The man ran at night to the different plantations to comfort the mothers of their children. We don't know no story like that. You think the man just pumped in the bunk the woman and kept it moving? No, this man was compassionate about that. He was forced to do something, and he had to take the leadership role to be the man and say, I care about not just the woman that I had to have sex with because Master wanted me to, but I have to care about these kids because these kids are my kids. If he had any power he had to control. And this is the narrative that we don't hear. We'll sell a narrative that he just want to hump around. Bobby Brown humping around. But we don't use the true narrative that this father, who was forced to be a father by somebody who owned him, still owned enough of himself to say, I'm going to respect the women I'm having these children with, and I'm going to see about my kids at the best ability that I can. Now, here, somebody say, you don't know that's true. You can't prove that, but that's how I think. I think positive. I don't think negative about us, because we got enough people spewing negative about, because you can't prove that you can't prove me wrong. You can't prove me wrong for what I'm saying. I'm a logical, educational, intellectual being. The first thing I think about, if I had to have kids with all these women and was forced, I'd be concerned about the mothers, and I'd be concerned about those kids that's out there that's mine. Now, I might not could do anything about them, but the conscience that I know inside of me, the man that I would be, that's what I would care. So I believe my ancestors, who was enslaved, would have thought the same way. Lightborn, I see you ready.
Okay, well, I would have to raise this question. If given the historical evidence, if we historically have a reason to be bad fathers, I would have to ask my white counterpart, what's your reason? You understand? And I'm saying that to say this. Historically, we know our reason. As a matter of fact, history is the star witness of our reason for being bad fathers, particularly in America, because you can't come here and be ripped from your family. You understand? First of all, you were ripped from your country. So you were ripped from the very origins of where you cultivate your family and the environment that they were meant to be cultivated. So you got about 3 sets of ripping from your family. And then you not only intentionally did it, because when you put intention behind a plan, that becomes systemic. And then you continuously rip that family and intentionally and systemically rip that family apart for 400 years. Let's give you 400 years. I'll give you the benefit. Give you 380. You understand? And then you said, you're a bad father. That's like the equivalent to the rapist judging the person that they raped. It's like a person who raped, like guys who rape women and said, oh, they should have never wore that dress. I mean, literally, this is the logic. You understand? So historically, which historically is actually factually, you will never be in no predicament to judge me. You understand? Because that judgment turns back around you with 3 fingers and a fist pointing at you. So again, we understand why we're bad fathers. Tell me why you are historically a bad father. Trump is a baby daddy. You understand? You got about 2 to 3 wives, maybe more. But why? What's your reason? You understand? And again, this is nothing political, but I'm being very practical right now. I'm like, but y'all, you can be president with the most atrocious negative character ever. But yet, the narrative, you understand, that secures and procures your fabricated character. You understand? And I mean, what puts you in the job? I mean, again, you can't put a Trump family up against an Obama family. You just can't. As a matter of fact, he came from the disenfranchised family we talked about. You understand? And yet became a better man than you. And that is factual. Contrary to popular belief, he is a better man than you. That's the thing Trump could never figure out, because money can't buy character. You understand? And so with that, yes, I believe that narrative controls neighborhoods and narrative may control the nation, but it's the truth that's going to triumph over both the neighborhood and the nation. And so with that, I think now father is as a whole, and particularly manhood as a whole, is under what they call I'm going to make this one up right, under a emotional revolution right now. So manhood and fatherhood is going through an emotional revolution, and here's why. Because again, 50% of that is us. Yes, I think we caused a lot of emotional trauma to our women and our children throughout the years because of the ramification of what I just spoke about, of the disenfranchisement of slavery, and then the what they call it, the residue that we still struggle with. But the other 50% is we still had a choice in the matter. You understand? To figure out what it is to truly love our women like our women love our children. I think once we tap into that, we will be something that even we don't recognize, and only God could recognize. And so that's pretty much my outlook on it. But again, I am not in no danger of being threatened by people who always try to put us in places of danger.
Right.
Well, Brother Vaughn spoke on something about the media, And Brother Lighthorn was just talking about money, and I'm gonna put the two together, man. Um, Positive narratives about black men just don't sell. People ain't, I would like to think that we are gonna watch that show. Um, in the 80s, it was the best example for me was the Cosby Show and A Different World. That was one of the best. And as a matter of fact, my mother made family night. We were mandated to be home, and Domino's started delivering pizza to your home. You didn't have to go to Pizza Hut and eat at the buffet anymore. They would bring the pizza to your house in 30 minutes or give you a discount. So every Thursday, 8 o'clock, it was Cosby. 8:30, it was A Different World. We saw positive images, and it was snatched from us. And they vilified, they vilified Mr. Cosby as of lately. Um, in my own walk, don't know if you guys know, but I attended Bethune Cookman along with Ron. I was a baby, as he was, he was already up there in seniority at the school. But I always have to throw that out there. I didn't graduate from there, but I went. You know what I'm saying? I went, and but as I've progressed, man, and again, not taking nothing away from the narrative, and we can get so pro-black, and I love my blackness, right? But we get so pro-black sometimes we can't see the beauty of a show. The first thing we say when we see something and it's showing a positive light from another culture is, why, like we just came out of this conversation. Why couldn't everybody be black, right? But I'm gonna tell y'all something, man. I seen what's the man? Kirk Cameron used to be on Growing Pains back in the day. Kirk Cameron is this Christian actor now, and he pretty much only acts in Christian movies. And he's got a plethora of work with a Christian background. And something that I've gravitated to is the fact that um, there's good. There's good to be found where there's good, period. I don't care what color the person is. I don't care what it is. There's something that can be learned from every walk of life. And if it's something that speaks to you, it just speaks to you. Um, I'm clearly not the darkest brother on the planet. You know what I'm saying? So there are mixtures. I come from, not only is do I have I forgot what they call the blend. I have a blended family where my wife had a son before I came into the picture, right? Um, Going back, the story from grandma was uncle's son, you know, uh, had to had to get the white police officer off of grandma. That's why they had to leave Carolina and go to Winter Haven and hide out in Winter Haven, Florida. And then my father, my aunts, and them was born in Winter Haven, and but then eventually there wasn't no money down there picking oranges and going from crop to crop. So they was building up Newark, New Jersey. So first grandma went up and secured the bag, and then she brought one kid, two kid, three kid. Grandpa came up, and not everybody was in the city. They had to stay in some house, and the same way that they built up Harlem and all the other spots around the globe during the different migrations of this and that. But at the end of the day, it wasn't just black people who procured the shoulders that I stand on right now. It was a mixture of people, and sometimes we get confused thinking that because the person have dark skin color that's our people. Just because they got your skin tone don't make them your people all the time. And it's a hard thing to say that, especially in a time where everybody is, let's get together. And I don't want to be the person that divide, and try to bring a division of spirit. But I think it's an even more unifying spirit when you see people of all walks. You just trying to do the right thing. And at the end of the day, something that many of my closest friends had to remind me, because the expectations that my father had for me, he worked in aviation, and we all know to have a plane fly, everything got to be perfect, right? To support life up at that altitude, every part of that airplane has to be fine tuned. So I have this growing up, this perfection kind of mindset that was kind of dangerous for me because it wouldn't leave any wiggle room. It wouldn't leave any well, it could be a little bit altered, but still get a good outcome, you know. So I'm saying that to say, you know, nothing in this world is going to be, if we're striving for perfection, I don't think we're going to find it. If you're looking for a TV show that's or a TV network which has already been based up, it's already shown its true colors, that at the end of the day, all, you know, how true it is or not, the rappers done came out, the producers done came out, they done told you, because we saw the change, especially people in my era. Music went from being about a party to being about being the most hardest gangster I could possibly be. I could be the hardest towards my women that I could be in the music, in the movies. And at the end of the day, it was all a big ploy to get folks who we didn't know what to do with in this country locked up, so that we can earn that money on the stock market and whatever and have you, and have these private corporations and this and that, because there's a level of conversation that we just won't get to, because that's just so not of us. We're not like, that's the merchant class. We the consumers. We the people that just, you know what I mean? We down here wheeling and dealing, and we thinking we doing something. But there's 10 levels above us that's controlling everything that we got going on. So like really, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, really what I search for, you know, and why I can come out here again, I'm not at home with my family right now, right? But I have to find peace, right? And like Ron said, I have to sit my kids down and tell them how it is. That's it. Ain't no, ain't no, well, you know, daddy's out here and yeah, blah, blah. No, no, listen. In order for us to have a house where you have a space to call your own, right? Now, you and your brother, y'all could share a room. You could. Why? Because me and my brothers shared a room in a house half the size of what y'all got, right? And we grew up, but I don't want to go there, because we always think, well, guess what? I went through all that and I'm okay. I'm not okay. You understand me? We all have our things that we carry with us and that we trying to get right, but we can't continue. We can't do. Oh man, somebody said that the other day. Well, you know, I don't see my kids, and you know, well, hey, I ain't see my daddy, and I'm all right. So he gonna be all right, man. I wanted to jump through the phone at that man. You know, no, your son is crying for you. He's hurting for you. He just needs you to show up. And I think it's fatherhood, whether you're the man of the house or the man of the house, the key is show up. When your children need you, when your wife needs you, you show up. If it's in person, in person. If it's over the phone, it's over the phone. If it's over a Zoom call, make every effort just to be present.
You know, Franco, you said a lot of, I mean, there's so much I could just begin to just go on, but I think you said something that was so powerful in reference to our conversation did turn into this. And I think this is where we get caught in this idea of, when I think about being positive, and when I said about why can't this movie be the movie just all black people? I wasn't saying why a movie can't just be black people. I'm saying that we as ourselves also believe that things are so messed up for us that we forget that everybody messed up. I think Lightborn said that. You know, this idea, listen, Lightborn said something that was so powerful. You know, of US presidents, right? Of US presidents. The large and I would say in the centuries that we can actually justify and remember. Now, a century is 100 years. So in the century that we know, that would be, you know, the century, because we, you know, some of us are in 2 centuries right now. We're in the 19th and the 20th century. So but when we talk about in this century that we know, there ain't been no presidents who had baby mamas before they was presidents. In the centuries that we know. Just the idea that you brought this good point. Obama, as well as the president before him, the Bushes, the Bushes, the Carters, the Ray, all these people, no matter what party, whatever, These guys had a wife and their children. Period. That was the standard. That was the standard that you can't lead us if you don't have the 50 mentality of a wife, a kids, a home, right? And people would make them believe that it would have been Obama who came in here with a baby. The baby, because that's your idea that people would like to sell for to be our reality. But guess what? You'll find out that a large majority of our pre-kids happen in our adolescence, not as grown men, not as even anybody educated to know better. We know sex early because we live in a sexual society. But if you, and again, you said this, Franco, you said this, we got to be there for our kids. We need to be there because you know what? The first leader, the person to teach them what not to do is you. Listen, I'm going to tell you, I didn't have no kid when I was a teenager. You know why I didn't have a kid when I was a teenager? Because I was a teenage child. I was a child of teenagers. So as much as nobody didn't tell me, I also told myself that I didn't want to be like my parents. And my parents was only like that because they had the freedom to be like that. They had, they was sneaking and snobbing and hipping and hobbing and doing the little things and getting out, listening to the OJs and the Ohio players. People don't know about that. Okay, they can.
Man, growing up in South Florida, bro.
So
89, 90, 91, bro. Up to 94, 95. Man, South Florida.
So you begin to say that these people started their sexuality early. And again, we say, oh, you seem like Black people. And I say this all the time. They have early sexuality. No, we're not the only people that have early sexuality because the same sexuality was a cultural thing here. Everybody want to get the youngest person they could get. So that, we're looking at the young, but some of our sexuality comes from our conditioning. We having sex not because sometimes we wanted to have sex. We having sex because that's what we know to do because that was conditioned. We need to make as many people as possible. That's cool. But that doesn't change to me the narrative that if I made a child, if you make a child, you got to take care of a child. Because that go for everybody. That go for the slave owner. That go for, because the slave owners took care of their children, even the ones they had from the slaves. He came up and stayed up in the house. He didn't sell them off. He didn't sell them off. They didn't get sold nowhere. They still stayed around. So when we're looking at this historically, we're talking about what it means. It's a role that we have to play as a father. That this providing that we're talking about, this money making, comes with another part of providing, nurturing. That I love to say that's a better word, nurturing, because our kids have our nature. But they definitely need our nature, our nurturing as fathers. They get the nurturing from their mom. The mom nurturing from the time they come out on the titty, on the breast. She nurturing it from Jump Street. They need to get our nature, our nurturing from us as well. And Rico, I can't say this and I can't reinforce this. Even if you don't have the opportunity to see your kid, be ready. Be sitting by that phone. Like when that little hot girl gonna call you, be sitting there by that phone, answering it. Hello? What you need, baby? What you need, huh? What you need, son? I got you. Don't worry about it. I'll get it to you. I'll make sure you got it. Okay. Be at that place. Because a lot of times what happens is we'll be that way with the hot girl. We'll come and do the put the cell phone on the cell phone on the ceiling challenge. The ones that do that for us, we be right there for that call. Let's be that same readiness for our kids. And that goes not just for the dads who not in the house, that's also for the dads who in the house. Everybody, we got to be ready. Because our kids going to come to us one day, and they're going to want to talk to, I tell you, I have seen this and I've heard it from many kids. I'm speaking to them and I say, why you didn't tell your parents? Why you didn't tell your dad this? Oh, I tried to. That's always the answer. Listen, that's always the answer. I'm sitting here saying, why your parents don't know this? Did you not tell your parents? I tried to. But the parents wasn't available. Parents are not available to each other, damn sure not available to their kids. Let me say that again. Parents who not available to each other, damn sure not going to be available to their kids.
Well, you know what? And I just and Franco, while I respect your narrative, because I kind of heard that somewhere else too, but then I completely disagree with it about them being the merchants and we being the consumer, right? Which is not really nothing to admire. But I don't think a white person should ever, and I mean ever, compare themselves to a black person. You can't compare yourself to me in a race that you got a 400-year head start. You understand? There's just certain practicalities that that will take away from the simplicity of this conversation. You understand? And so the fact that even if we do it, I think it's asinine for us to do it to try to compare ourselves to white people, be it when it comes to the equivalency of our history, right? And I'm not even factoring the superiority because they don't want to even discuss that. You can't tell me that the historical treatment of when you did get it, and then you got to add, and you got to control that narrative. Say, well, what happened when you did see a good father back then when your fathers were growing up? What happened to black fathers who were good fathers? You understand? Ask Rosewood. Ask Oklahoma. Ask them. What happened to when they were good? Ask Medgar Evers. Those were great fathers. Ask Martin Luther King. You understand? And so don't tell me, I'm like, don't tell me they don't have no, I'm like, you have complete responsibility of the traumatic and the traumas and the tragedies of that black fatherhood face. So don't don't try to remove yourself from the fact that you think you have nothing to do with this. They have everything to do with this. And so we have to make them accountable to our history, like Jewish people make America accountable to their history, and like we make 9/11 accountable for its history. I love 9/11 slogan. We will never forget. I'm like, you damn right. You understand? And so don't make me try to feel ashamed of never forgetting when you guys live by the same mantra. And so contrary to popular belief, oh, I know my narrative as a black. And I'm like, whether you accept it or not, I'm gonna shove it down your damn throat. You understand? Because that's exactly what you did to my ancestors to get me to this conversation. And so again, we have to take back control of our narrative to truly be the free men that we claim to be. But I'm never going to be in bondage to them, especially mentally. And that goes back to your original point about the slave mentality. I refuse to have them. And knowing what you need to know breaks you free of that. And so that's all I'm saying. That's why I had to be, but I did hear a guy, he said it's so poignant. He was so black guy too. He's just so, oh yeah, they're the merchants and we're the, what you call them. He sounded so good. And so I said, of course it's easy to talk down to people that don't have nothing. The hardest thing to talk about is to talk up to people or talk up against people who took everything from your ass. He didn't have no narrative.
But Lightborn, you know, and
I'm not talking about you, Franco, but
no. I think what you're saying is that, listen, I think this is why these conversations we have are so important, because what Franco said brought up something, right? And then what you just said, and the idea that you know your discourse on it, right? That it allows us, and I hope the audience and the people watching are taking a little time to process some of this in a very large sense, because fatherhood is universal. You don't have a race in it, right? But you will hear people say, you know, when they talk about the statistics of fatherhood, right? They will subject it to race. When reality of there is no more cheating husbands of all husbands, not black husbands, all husbands. So that means all fathers. So I think in many instances, but there is this part that it is subjected to be a difference, because there are people making narratives for how they want things to be. Because the narrative of America, and here's a great part I love to say, people, because I'm a historian, I love history, but I don't just love American history. That's the problem. I love in the first century. See, we focus so much up until like we only evaluate in America up until like the 15th, 16th century. You get where I'm going with this? You understand what I'm saying? That our idea we in the 20, we in the 20th century, we're going 21st century, the whole 9 yards, right? But our history of America only goes to about the 15th or 16th century. So if that's the case, right? What about the 15 centuries before that? What was the narrative of us as a people then? Completely different narratives, completely different stories that people don't even want to talk about, don't even establish. And guess what? When we come back to the Franco's point about being universal, about us being universal people, we even go farther. We can start going to the point of the 6th, the 7th, the 8th century. These wasn't the things separating people. Race may not have been the thing separating people at that point, because we hadn't got, some people haven't even got to that idea, because we ain't even got some religions at that point yet. You know, so you ain't even got to some of that yet. So it's a great point when we really look at this and remember that fatherhood is universal for everybody, but we can't let go of the dynamics that causes some of the differences in the appearance of fatherhood. We all know that America's number one dad, period. Who was America's number one dad? You can't question it. The number one dad from
James Evans. That was America's number one dad because he was real, he was in the struggle, and he had life lessons going on. James Evans.
Well, we can take
Marvel.
listen, and I'm glad you said that, because we can take James Evans, we can take George Jefferson, we can take Fred Sanford. See, when we start looking for us in our mindset of those dads, listen, but also we go Ward Cleaver. Maybe not just the dad we think about, Flip Wilson. You start looking at these people, and it's all depending on subjective of who a great dad is. But we know that what class you come from could determine what you consider a good dad. And I love that you said that, Vaughn, because James Evans would be the example for many of us, not just Black people, but also white people in that class group, that he was a working class man who did everything he could for his family, and he wanted better for his kids to have a better future than him. That's the American dream, right? That's the real American dream. So even we looked at a classic Ward Cleaver. Ward Cleaver wanted the best for his sons. I'm not Ward Cleaver. I'm thinking of Man, My Three Sons. I don't know his name, but that's that movie, My Three Sons. That father wanted the best for his kids. Now, he lived in a totally different social economical status. He had privilege and all the things. But listen, the things he did as a father was dynamic. But today's image, and I don't care what kind of father you is, it's jack. We don't have a strong image. White, Black, Hispanic, Asian. You don't have no imagery of fatherhood that has a strength, that has a power of nurture.
That's not linked to gangster or running a mafia, not giving the free advertisement. But I look at the shows, Family Business, Power, and it's all kind of the same kind of deal there. There are examples of us as fathers, but it's all linked to criminality. And
Right.
It's crazy to me. Like, it's just linked to criminality, but again, that's what keep people biting their nails and wanting to come back and watch the next episode. And it just that.
But as Vaughn said, it makes that reality our reality when it's not our reality. Because listen,
Right.
This is sub sample.
Okay.
Any of us on here running a drug mafia? I mean, we got a small subset. We're really small, but I'm pretty sure it ain't none of the fathers on here running a mafia. We not selling dope. We actually get up every day and work for the dollars that we get.
That's not even true for the drug kingpins. I knew who were raising kids, and I had a few of them in my my programs. I'm talking about I had some hitters in my program, and I knew they dad. And they dad, who was at that particular time serving 25 to life in prison until Barack Obama gave the prison reform. They was already at about 20 years when I met their kids in elementary school, and so the kids were still was trying to struggle between the reputation and the father, who their father really was. I'm like, I could tell you factually that your father don't want this for you. You understand? That was the whole reason he did it in the first place.
Right.
And so
exactly.
I'm like, that's garbage. I'm like, first of all, there's no father that I know, at least not no halfway decent, caring father, that selling joke, sacrificing himself to put his child out there to sacrifice himself.
Well, like boy,
the mafia, that's not even mafia practicality, because the whole purpose for the mafia was to send their kids to college so they can do better than them. That's the average average parent mentality. So I know that's garbage. I'm like, I got no garbage right here. But again, we have to change that narrative, because again, 50 Cent ain't raising his kid to be no damn gangster.
Absolutely. Franco proved. I mean, Franco brought it up, and I mean, I don't want to give any. I don't want to give any. Not to say not to watch it, but advertise whatever. But I watch the show. Empower.
No, I watched it too.
No, Empower. Empower. Ghost. But no, I'm not that. Ghost was one way, but Kirkpatrick, Jamie Kirkpatrick, wanted his son to go to college. He didn't want his son involved in the business. He didn't even want to be in the business himself no more once he got the ability to be out. He wanted to be an upstanding city. He was thinking about becoming a goddamn lieutenant governor. Now, listen, here go the part that's problematic for us that we don't want to realize. That's American. That's the American way. We just late to the party. We late to the party. Listen, the government. Listen, one of our greatest, well, considered in our parents considered one of the greatest presidents, Robert F. Kennedy. His family came from corruption.
Yeah, they're gangsters.
They was gangsters,
and most people in power were. I mean, Trump.
Because the only way you can get in power is to get money.
Trump family were gangsters, because I'm like, I wouldn't consider the KKK no less. But you understand?
Right.
The reality is the fact that, and I'm going to go back to Bond's point, and all of our point before we miss it, that the number one dad in America was, in fact, Bill Cosby. And the character of, and this is where we have to tell this narrative, because this narrative is very important, what I'm getting ready to say. The character of Bill Cosby and the narrative that he projected was so strong, not just as a Black person, but as a person. The only person that could have toppled him, you ready for this? Was a fictional one, a cartoon being Homer Simpson. It's amazing how the only one toppling was a fictional character that was made up, and that was loosely translated on irresponsibility and
absolutely
versus responsibility that was number one for about almost 10 years before the irresponsibility kicked in. Like, nah, we would rather accept irresponsibility from a white man or a white cartoon guy than the Black.
They're not white. They're not white.
Right.
They're yellow.
That's amazing. I'm like, yeah, Homer Simpson.
But like boy, let me
what Bill Cosby was. Completely.
Let me come in, and because you just brought it, this might be a whole nother topic for us to talk about, because when we really evaluate Homer Simpson, right, and looking at Homer Simpson, you hit it right on the head. Homer Simpson had no desire about being a dad or anything. Everything was about Homer Simpson, what he wanted, how he wanted, he didn't care about anything. But his fatherhood side, when it kicked in, was phenomenal, and that's why he toppled Bill Cosby, because it was the idea that he is the worst example of what a father was, but you still was able to see the fatherhood in him when it came to particular times, even when it was foolishness, even when it was dumb, even when he was saying, "Oh, I want some donuts," whatever happened. But there was points that it was very clear that he didn't care nothing about the kids, but he did care. But it was supposed to be humorous. But that's what makes him topple Bill Cosby, because it's like, wow, he's a horrible dad, but he's really a great dad.
And that's the thing. You said that, but then that olive branch is very seldomly and rarely offered to Black people when we're at the mistake.
Absolutely. I listen, and I love it. I think that's a great point for us to get ready to close out on, because I think you make it very clear about that, is that olive branch of mistakes,
Right.
and being mistakeful. Why can't it still mean that we love our kids and we want to be good fathers? Because that's what it means for Homer Simpson. Even when he's intentionally doing things, he still is a good father who wants to. He Homer Simpson, what we would consider is a father in the house, not of the house. He's just in the house. Marge take care of everything for him, but we still love him as a father when he does father things. And why
talking about that, you just said something, and I didn't interrupt you, but they just did a story last week about that. How the creators of The Simpsons, they're gonna omit or delete all the episodes of Homer's choking Bart. Took her to something about about abuse and stuff like that when it comes to kids.
Right.
And so they just did a big story on that. And notice what I said. I mean, it's amazing. And again, Homer, who is abusive, gets a pass, but then Bill Cosby gets the shaft. I'm gonna leave it right there.
Well, hey, yeah, he got the shaft, all right. He was telling about the shaft.
I'm gonna leave that right there, though.
Yeah, I don't know why you used the word shaft, but I mean,
I had to say the shaft.
Yeah, the shaft.
It was just right there.
The shaft.
Hey, Franco, man, and everybody on here, man. Rohan, Lawrence, Frederick, Vaughn, man. It was a pleasure. You guys made this show way more than
hey, man, this was really good. Franco, man, I'm so glad you came on tonight, man. Listen, I know that when we talk, you had a lot of things on your mind. I'm glad you got it. Listen, every time we get a new father to come on, just to come on here. And again, this is the live show, so everybody's seeing it. This ain't how we talk tomorrow. So you just know tomorrow we get down and dirty, and we get down to real nitty gritty things when we have our Wednesday night. So again, I'm inviting fathers. If you're interested, look right in the comments. You can look onto the track, look in the comments of the show, and you can see where you can come tomorrow, come on the Zoom. And if you have some issues you want to talk about, you want to throw to the group, we're here to talk about and really discuss them. Tonight was as always, our show to kind of talk about a topic, and you can see how fathers feel about being fathers that's in the house, or fathers of the house versus a father of the house. And I think that's a great place. And again, we was able to break this topic down because some people feel like only people that can be that is guys who marry, who live in the house. And we know very clearly that doesn't have to be the case. So you can be the father of the house with your ex-wife who live in the house with a new father of that house. You can be the father in that house too, because those kids are still yours, who still following what you saying as their father, because that's what we led, that's what we taught, that's what we gave to our kids. And that's important for us. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Fatherhood Think Tank. Hey, if you haven't done so, like, share, subscribe, hit the little bell so you can know when we're coming on. I want to say to the fathers again, thank you for coming on. You guys are the reason why we even have a show, what makes the show. And I'll say one last thing. We are going to listen. 2024 is going to be like never before. 2024 going to be like never before. Fatherhood Think Tank going up to another level. With that being said, fathers, repeat after me. I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I say, fathers, I am a man of respect.
I am a man of respect.
Come on, fathers, repeat after me. I say that I am. I say that you are.
You are.
I say that we are.
We are.
Championship fathers.
Championship fathers.
No, Jay, because you can't show your face.
And
I'm looking at y'all. I'm watching you. I got my eye on y'all.
So I just want people to know we say this when we end every meeting, so we can cover fathers so they can continue to do their work every day and every week. One of the things, and it reminds us when we have a mantra or something to say, it helps us and it brings us back to when we're going to make decisions and what we're going to do to remind us who we are, championship fathers. With that being said, thanks everybody for joining us. Fatherhood Think Tank. We'll see you either tomorrow night on the private Zoom meeting, or we'll see you next week live here at Fatherhood Think Tank. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Peace. All right, be blessed, fellas. Happy Thanksgiving.
Great show, gentlemen.